Today I'm going to be shooting ballistic gel at 200 yards with 300 blackout. There's already videos online where they're shooting ballistic gel at 100 yards with 300 blackout. I'm interested to see what the expansion will be at 200 yards. Now this block, I have shot it already a few times with 22, well that's 22 long rifle, that's 22 Magnum. So it is messed up a little bit, but I wanted to shoot it again before I remelted the block. I have the Winchester Deer Season XP 150 grain, and this is the Federal Power Shock 150 grain. And we can look at the velocity on the back here. And the rifle does have a 16-inch barrel on it. Here's what the round looks like, Winchester Deer Season XP. It does have that polymer tip on it. And this is what the Federal Power Shock looks like. It's just kind of a pointed soft point there. And here is a side-by-side comparison of these two rounds. Of course, you've got the Winchester on the right. That is a 20-inch block of ballistic gel. I do have some cardboard and a piece of lumber behind there. That way, if it does penetrate all the way through, maybe I can catch the bullet. So I can see that first shot kind of hit the right side of the block. It exited the block. So I'm going to shoot it again. So I'm kind of struggling to hit the block. I'm hitting a little bit high. Now I did move the sight a little bit to the left, but there's some wind blowing today too. I hit high there, but I'll show you what that did to the back of this box. Of course, it went through that piece of wood back there, but it blew a big old hole in the back of that box. And I'm sure this old piece of wood is kind of what caused all that expansion. So now let's take a look at this block. It took me enough tries to hit it. Of course, that first shot wasn't too bad. It just kind of shot to the side and went out the side of the block. But I guess that was, let's see, 1, 2, 3. About the fourth shot. Of course, I adjusted the scope left a little bit, but got it in there. Take a look at the wound cavity. So it's pretty narrow. I'll get the tape measure out in a little bit, but pretty narrow. I'm gonna say that's about 5 inches or so. And then you can see it widen out and it carries all the way through. And it left a big hole in this box right here. Now I really don't know the way it went through the side of the box, if I had enough cardboard to catch that bullet. I can see that hay discolored a little bit right there, so I bet it went into that hay, but I will look and see if I can get that bullet. I'm afraid I won't be able to. You can actually see a little piece of cardboard stuck in that hay right there. So yeah, I think I got it here. Let's see what we got, because that's kind of the point of what I was wanting to look at, is how much expansion. And really just that tip is really the only thing that created that expansion. Again, looking at that wound cavity, I really don't see much fragmentation, so I really believe just that tip created some expansion. And you can see that core, that lead core, is just flat sitting there. So the copper just kind of expanded around it. Now I will also say what I've seen in ballistic gel is even if you get a little bit of expansion, it'll cause the tip of that bullet to slow down, and it can kind of turn in there. So, you know, sometimes it'll expand and it'll turn, and I think sometimes even that creates a larger wound cavity, because you can see again, look how big that hole is right there. You know, it may have turned and it may have actually hit that box sideways like that. Now that is a 20-inch block of ballistic gel, and it pretty well went through that block right there. So penetration is good, but you get a slower 150 grain bullet that doesn't fragment, you usually get pretty good penetration in that block. And I'm not videoing me shooting because I'm actually shooting out of the window of my truck, but my truck is over there in the field. I've been shooting the Federal Power Shocks and missing the block again, but I'm saying they drop less than the Winchester Deer Season XP. I've been hitting high. I hate to point out that I'm missing this block, but I guess that's part of it. So I feel like it took me enough shots, but I finally got it. Now, again, the Federal Power Shock, it may be just the way it comes out of the gun, but I feel like I had to aim a little bit lower. My scope does have the bullet drop compensation, so I brought it down a little bit further, actually closer to I had my crosshairs closer to the top of that block. That's a 6-inch block. To finally get it in there. Before I was a little high over the top of it, but I think right there is where that Federal Power Shock hit. And then I'm just looking at the top at these two wound cavities. That was the Winchester on the right. On the left, looks like the Federal Power Shock, the cavity gets wider a little bit earlier. And then I see what looks like just a little fragment right there. Now, I wonder what the odds of finding that bullet in that cardboard box will be. Now, this is, again, a 20-inch block, so that thing went all the way through the box. So, thank goodness I was able to find that bullet in that cardboard box. Not much expansion at all. But you can see that it did make a wound cavity in there. Again, I'm looking from the top, but right there, I'm going to say that's about 3 inches in, it started to create a cavity. And I do believe that piece of copper came from the bullet. So you can see at this bullet, now that may have been hitting the wood in that cardboard, but sometimes I guess the petals will be kind of pointed out. Again, those things will roll like that in there and sometimes be pulling sideways, so that creates a bigger cavity sometimes. I got the tape measure out just to give you a look at the top of it, see where that wound cavity starts to expand. Federal Power Shock, to me it looks like just about 3 inches. Winchester Deer Season XP, about 4.5 inches, 5 inches or so. I can see the tip of the bullet, the Winchester Deer Season XP, at about 6 inches there. Here's what the bullets look like from the top. Winchester Deer Season XP on the left, Federal Power Shock on the right. I think I like the looks of that one better. But looking at the block of ballistic gel, their performance is pretty similar. That cavity starts a little earlier. Both of them do seem to penetrate pretty well, even at 200 yards. Kind of a look at these two bullets from a different angle here. It just so happens that I have bullets that I've retrieved from previous videos. This is all Federal Power Shock. This one was fired at 30 yards, this one 100 yards, and this one 200 yards. So you can see the differences in expansion at the different distances. Well, the penetration of the 300 Blackout was pretty good at 200 yards. The expansion wasn't great, especially with the Federal Power Shock. I do feel like if you shoot a deer at 200 yards and you get it, really good through the vitals, it's definitely going to kill the deer. You're definitely going to retrieve the animal. But the other question is, how well can you shoot at that distance? You can see myself, I'm kind of all over the place shooting at that distance. Even the different bullets seem to drop just a little bit differently. But hopefully you found this video to be interesting and useful, and thanks for watching.